We're all set, eh? So the License and Health Committee, we need a roll call at this time.
Alderman Vitale,
Here,
Grisham,
Here.
Reinke,
Here.
Rote,
Here.
Stefanski,
Here.
5 present.
thank you, Rebecca. Then we move on forward with the approval of minutes of the February 8th, 2021.
Move to approve.
Any
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. So we need to call first Ashley or Crystal, if they're both available, or? They're both there, right, Rebecca?
I believe Ashley's here. I'm not sure who the other person is.
Okay, well,
Just
let's
joined.
do that. If it's Ashley is here, we do item 3 then. So we have item 3, 2022 operator license.
Mr.
bartender
Chair,
class. Yes,
I
I'm
believe-
sorry, that's the Ashley that is for number 6. That's in the meeting now. The other Ashley is not here, I don't believe.
oh, all right, well then let's.
I'm not
let's,
sure who the SMT537V is.
Okay, yeah, that one is on 6C for the closed session, actually. So this one, we can move forward with item 2, 2022 operator license bartender class D operator application of Crystal A. Haslin. So the questions, the applicant will respond to the letter and will appear. So she's here.
SMT537V, can you identify who you are? It says connecting to audio, if we can give her or him a minute.
Sure.
SMT537V, can you hear us now? You're on mute currently.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Who is that?
That's Timothy Werger, Nick.
All right, very good, thank you. Is Crystal Huslein on the call?
Who's Crystal?
I'm sorry, a different matter altogether. You and Ashley can go on mute for the time being.
I don't even know how to do that, to be honest with you.
And you can just hang tight.
I'll just hang tight, but I don't know. I don't want to mess it up again. I won't be able to hear you.
Very good.
So
I don't believe Crystal has checked in yet. Maybe we can start doing other matters and then can circle back.
So Ashley is not here. What about Crystal just as well? Both of them are not here yet, right? Both of them, right?
Correct. It sounds like Crystal, item number 2, Crystal did respond. I was on those email chains, and then item number 3, Ashley did not respond.
She's on.
Ashley Kyle, not Ashley Kapelowski. Sir, Mr. Wergen, we'll call you when it's there's other items on the agenda today. So we'll call you and let you know. Just stay on the line, but hang tight till we let you know it's your turn, okay?
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, just for point of order, we're kind of all over the place. We're at new and previous matters. Item number 2, Crystal Huslein is not with us right now. Item number 3 with Ashley Kill, I believe that we had given her an opportunity to appear at our last session. She did not. Am I correct on that? Because this would be the second non-appearance, if I'm correct.
Mr. Chair.
Correct. This is second chance.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
It's Crystal was on the last agenda. Ashley was not.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Okay.
So
now-
at this point, if Crystal did not appear at our former meeting and she's not with us right now, would we decide to hold over once again, or are we going to make a decision now?
I do believe if this is the second time, I think we have to follow. I mean, I believe it. That's up to the committee. but we should
Okay.
follow a pattern. This is second time, so we give her 2 times a chance to appear in front of us, But
I
if she's
agree.
not, she means that she's not interested. Well, that's up to the committee for someone to move or deny the applications.
With that being said, I would make a motion to deny.
Second,
So there is a second. All in favor of denial of the applications for the Class D for the bartender license of Crystal Ursuline for denial. That's
Move to
Aye.
deny based on non-appearance.
not appearance, correct.
Correct.
So there's a motion, a second. All in favor of denial.
Aye.
aye,
Oppose, the eye have it. So now we can move for Ashley Kyle, we should skip it for now. Or there's no response just as well, so I don't know.
Well, if I may again, Chairman Vitale, I think the reason that we gave Crystal Huslein a second chance, if I recall, Alderman Roth had said that. Am I correct on saying that we would typically give an opportunity for another appearance? Or, I mean, at this juncture, it's eating up council time. If you're not taking time to make your appearances when we're taking time to hear this, I don't think that we need to give, second chances on that. You take it seriously, you come to the session. If there's no response from the applicant, I would consider that we adopt a policy kind of with one another that we deny. They can come back and reapply at another time then.
So the motion of Alderperson Christian is to deny the application of Ashley Kyle. So any seconds?
second,
All in favor of denial of the license?
Aye.
aye,
Oppose? The eye have it. So then we move on with the recommendations from 2021 or 0041 regarding the police tavern violations of the service month of January 2021. So to me, I believe we all went through with this police report. So I believe we can move it for place on file, or what's the wishes of the committee members?
I can make a motion to place on file. If there's any discussion, we can.
Yeah, if there's any discussions, or that's what
Second.
we're here for. So there's a second of Alderperson Stefanski. So an motion had been made for denial, to place on file. So we got a second. So we need the vote now to place on file.
all those in favor?
All in favors?
Aye.
Oppose? The eye have it. All right. Now we move on to item 5, an ordinance to create special events permit of repeal parade and carnival permits. I believe it was kind of introduced the last meeting. So is any discussions before we can vote for, or? So any members has any questions in regard to repeal the ordinance? If there's no questions, then we can move for approval. Anybody make the motion to approve it?
Make a motion for approval.
Second.
All in favors?
Aye.
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 Opposed? The eye have it. So now we should perhaps maybe before we go on closed sessions, if it's okay, I think for Rebecca, our assistant city attorney, or Nick, we can just probably finalize the item 7 to review the license application background check for consideration possible approval or denial. So before we go on closed session with item 6. So,
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
for matters of discussion, item number 7 for review of licensed applicants, I move to approve all applicants.
any seconds from any committee
Second.
members? All in favor of the second?
Aye.
Aye,
Opposed? The eye have it.
Aye.
So,
Oh, I have a question.
Go ahead,
Mr.
Alderperson Rangi.
I'm always concerned when applicants have drug-related tickets. Willie Stone has a 2018 drug paraphernalia ticket and a THC ticket. I'm a little concerned about that. Can we have him come in, Attorney Sherwood?
Well,
At this point, it's certainly up to the committee, however you want to proceed. Under the new ordinance that was passed and approved, typically that would not be somebody who's coming in. If the committee determines that you would like to see that type of applicant more, we can certainly talk about an amendment to that ordinance, but under the ordinance as adopted, Mr. Stone will be approved in the future without coming to the committee for those types of tickets. Now, if there were drug convictions in a criminal matter at that time, it would be likely that you might see that in that scenario.
Attorney
distinction here is-
Sherwood, what is the
Yes.
difference between a ticket and being served?
A ticket and a criminal charge are different in that there is jail time for a potential criminal charge. A citation is a money penalty only. Generally would be considered a lesser offense. Meaning, in this instance, I don't know any of the facts, but rather than charge the person criminally, the officers or the DA's office potentially determined this to be a lesser violation and that citations were appropriate.
yeah, and I agree with Attorney Sherwin in that reference. I think it was some changes were already made, to me, first of all, it's been over 3 years. I don't think it's enough for us really to have them come in. I mean, then again, it's up to the wishes of the committee, but it's not enough charges for us to really waste our time on that one, really.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
just to kind of circle back to our last meeting when we did adopt the ordinance allowing the clerk's office to approve, we did go over this criteria. Alderwoman Ranky, I think the difference that Attorney Sirwin was trying to say is if it's a misdemeanor, it doesn't directly impact the license activity. And that's one thing that we did discuss at great length. So I think the criteria is being followed by the clerk's office that Mr. Stone would be approved. And again, kind of just to reiterate what Attorney Sirwin said, I guess we'd have to look at amending that if this is something that you would like to bring forward, because I know you do take these particular items very seriously, but I just wanted to point out the difference between what Attorney Sirwin said based on criminal versus a misdemeanor ticket. And if I'm correct, maybe Attorney Sirwin can chime in on that too. It's usually a percentage or amount. It wouldn't be that Mr. Stone was dealing drugs, for example. It could have been on his possession. Am I correct,
So-
Attorney Sirwin?
One quick clarification, a misdemeanor or a felony would both be criminal offenses, okay? And so it's not a
Okay.
misdemeanor citation, it'd be either a
Thank you.
citation or a misdemeanor or a felony. And yes, generally, the larger quantities could be charged or would be charged criminally. Smaller quantities or those instances that are less aggravated would generally go the ticket route. Again, for Mr. Stone specifically here, I don't have any information specific to the offense, but that's how it operates in Milwaukee County. And I was a drug DA for about 3 years. So I have a decent
Okay.
understanding of that process.
Okay, thank you.
I appreciate both of your comments. However, I still have, for the clarification, thank you. However, I still have concerns, especially if it's a new operator and he is in the position to pass on the drug paraphernalia as an operator. So I do have valid concerns regarding this, even though there's a difference between the two. The ticket and the being charged. Thank you both though for clarifying it.
Yeah, Thank you, Rosalie. I mean, I think all the members of this body, I think we all do kind of understand some of the consequences. But like I say, every applications and every issue is a little different, you know. So if it was more severity on the cases, you know, of the applicant, then I think I would be a little bit more concerned just as well, just like everybody else. But in this case, I think it was discussed on the issue already, you know, introduced by our city attorneys just as well. So so, so I believe everything is just fine, you know. But if this gentleman, if he has some other issue, then I'll be asking questions just as well, like you did, Rosalie. Thanks. Okay, now we can move to is any other discussions about these matters, or you know, about this applicant background checks? Is there any more questions before we move to hearing a closed session meeting? Is there any more questions?
No.
All right. So I don't think we need to do anything, right, Nick, to vote on or anything, right?
No, the committee already voted on
Yeah,
at
we
least,
voted on already anyway, so.
yeah, on number 7. So on number 6, then, Attorney Hammock is here for the committee as your attorney. I am the prosecutor on the matter. I see that we have Ashley Kabalewski, I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, and Timothy Wergen are also on. I believe Rebecca has kind of a something to read in advance of the hearing. We have 2 officers also present, Officer Vanden Boogard and Officer Jacobson, to testify. There they are. And if I will just make it known to anybody who's involved in this hearing process that the hearing will occur first, and then the committee could go into closed session. Attorney Hammock will explain that process. And I know the committee has expressed interest, if possible, in your technology to appear visually. That certainly may impact their ability to assess your credibility and make final decisions on this case. So just, I'm putting that out there, that if Ashley or Tim, if you can appear visually, that may be preferred. It's ultimately up to you, I think, at this point.
Okay, based on your statement, we can stay at this time in open session to hear our officer to address the concern or the issue that did occur on 57 in Mitchell.
Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
Chairman, I have a
Go ahead.
procedure guide that I will follow, just like we've done in the past. I believe it was emailed to all the alderpersons when this meeting was scheduled. So I'll just read through that and we'll go step by step, just like we usually do. We'll do the hearing, hear both sides, and then the committee can go into closed session to discuss the matter and make a decision about what they'd like to do.
Thank you, Rebecca. Go ahead.
So I am Assistant City Attorney Rebecca Hammock. This matter is a hearing being held before the License and Health Committee of the Common Council of the City of West Dallas. This license hearing is being held pursuant to Section 125.12 of the Wisconsin statutes. In the matter of the complaint against Uncle Fester's LLC, Ashley Kabalewski, licensing agent. Let it be noted for the record that the following committee members are present. Each of you, please identify yourself. Mr. Chair?
Yes. Vitaly. Okay.
Alderwoman Grisham.
Alderman Stefanski.
Alderman Rote.
Alderman Rinky? There you go.
Alderman Ranky
Rinky.
here. Thank you.
And then Assistant City Attorney Nicholas Serwin is prosecuting this matter. And myself, also an assistant, as acting as an advisor to the committee. For the record, let's have all of the other 2 people appearing state their appearances. First, the 2 people from Uncle Fester's, and then we also have the officers state their appearances as well.
Ashley Kaplazinski.
And you're the registered agent for Uncle Fester's?
Correct.
And then I'm not sure who's on SMT 537V. Who is that?
Timothy Wergen, owner.
Okay. And then we have 2 officers present as well. Your names?
Officer Brett Vanden Bogart. Officer Matthew Jacobson.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Miss
Attorney
Cabo-
Hammond?
Sorry. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Was it clear that both Ms. Kapeluski, I'm sorry, I'm not pronouncing it properly, and Tim have the opportunity to turn on their cameras so we can see them during this proceeding? I just wanted to clarify whether they're going to do that or not.
I don't know how. Can you tell me
I
how?
don't
to go?
either.
If you tell me how to do it, I'll be able to do it.
Rebecca, you actually can. If you click on the 3 dots, you can ask them to start video, and it should give them a pop-up to where they would have to start their video.
Okay, I see it. I started mine.
For some reason, yours is black.
Ashley, we can see yours though.
Okay.
Can't see me?
No.
Shoot.
It may be the device you're on. Actually, I can see something there.
Yeah.
Well,
I
Are you in a darker room? That's what it is. There we go.
You see, I'm in my truck. I'm trying to do this through my computer on a truck. So
Gotcha.
bear with me.
Gotcha.
Do you see me now?
Okay. Ashley, can you pronounce your last name?
Kaplazinski.
Kaplazinski. Okay. Ms. Kaplazinski, the nature of this hearing is for the committee to make a decision as it relates to the complaint against you, which has been filed with the committee. Under the provisions of section 125.12 of the Wisconsin statutes and section 9.02 sub 20 of the West Dallas Revised Municipal Code, this hearing has been convened for the purpose of determining whether any of the charges against you are true, and then to make a recommendation based upon that determination. This committee will examine all the evidence concerning the charges through inquiry to both sides. The committee will evaluate and then impartially weigh the evidence. It will determine whether or not any of the charges have been proven solely upon the evidence introduced at this hearing tonight. This hearing is open to the public. A verbatim record of the proceedings is being made by audio recording. You may be represented by an attorney. Assistant City Attorney Nicholas Serwin is here as the prosecutor and will present the case against you to the committee. I am the Assistant City Attorney present and will serve as a legal advisor to the council. I am here to advise the committee on questions of law and procedure and may also direct questions to witnesses on behalf of the committee. You may present evidence, call and examine witnesses, and cross-examine the witnesses against you. All witnesses will be sworn at the time they give their testimony. Both the complainant and licensee shall be limited to 1 hour each for presentation of testimony, not including cross-examination or questions from the committee or city attorney representing the committee. The chair may extend the time for a presentation of testimony to assure a full and fair hearing. Subject to a motion for consideration by the full committee made by a member of the committee, the chair has the final ability to rule upon all questions, objections, and motions as to procedural matters, admissibility of evidence, and similar issues. All objections, questions, and motions should be directed to the chair. You may testify on your behalf with regard to the charges against you. However, what you say will be considered as evidence. Further, if you do testify, you may be cross-examined by both Attorney Serwin and myself and any of the members of the committee. If a charge or charges against you are proven, you are advised that the committee may recommend to the Common Council that your license be suspended, revoked, or not renewed, and that the Common Council may accept or reject such recommendation and may determine upon such recommendation whether your license should be suspended, revoked, or not renewed. So does all of that make sense? You have any kind of questions? That sort of lays out the basic procedure here. and who everybody is, who all the players are. Attorney Serwin will present his side first. The officers will talk. You'll have a chance to ask the officers questions, and then it'll be your turn. You can testify. The owner of Uncle Fester's can also testify. Ultimately, the questions are any of the things in the complaint accurate? Violations as stated, and if they are, the second question is what to do about that. So right now we're going to do the first part of that with everybody testifying, and then we'll get into the second part later. So do you have any questions about the procedure at this time?
No.
Okay. So you have been served with the summons for this hearing and a copy of the complaint against you, which has been filed with the committee for a determination. I now request the clerk to append as exhibits to the record a copy of the summons and complaint, together with a copy of the affidavit of service as was previously provided, I believe, by Attorney Serwin.
Rebecca, do you have a copy of those documents? Rebecca Grill.
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, Ms. Kapelinski, do you have a copy of that as well, correct?
Correct.
And that contains, I'm just looking, looks to be about 24 different paragraphs, all stating different facts about things that have happened that have led us to this point. Do you have any of the things in there that you stipulate to, or are in particular are contesting?
I'm not contesting anything really, because nothing.
So just to be clear, so I think the pertinent parts start at about paragraph 6. Then on October 3rd, officers reported to a noise complaint. The music was extremely loud. The officer was able to communicate with the bartender to turn the music down. The bartender agreed to turn the music down, and it stated that there was a DJ working. So you're not contesting that paragraph, correct?
Nope.
And then paragraph 7 talks about an incident on October 10th, and you're not contesting that happened.
Have it in front of me.
Are you reading it, Ms. Kapelinski?
Yeah.
Okay. And it looks like paragraphs 8, 9, and 10. Let's see, 11, 12, 13 kind of all continue to talk about that October 10th incident. So if you want to review those and let me know if there's any parts of that you are contesting or not.
And just for the record, that is correct. There's 3 incident dates: October 3rd, October 10th, and January 1st. And so the complaint does detail in paragraph 7 through 13 the incident on the October 10th.
Is that the big incident, Nick?
That's the shooting incident, correct?
The other 2 are music related, correct?
Correct.
I don't have it in front of me. That's what I'm asking.
Noise related complaints, correct, with the other 2.
That's addressed. That's history. That'll never happen.
I'm not contesting to those because there's surveillance video that we have, that you guys have.
Okay.
So Rebecca, I mean, I would like to make sure she said she's not contesting the last two of them either. Or
So you're not contesting so October 3rd and January 1st were 2 noise complaints. You're not contesting those, correct? Just to clarify.
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, and then the October 10th incident surrounding the shooting and things that occurred as well, you're also not contesting that, correct?
It's all on video. I try to lie about it. It's nothing to, you know.
Okay,
Yeah.
this is more kind of just procedural and,
No, I understand, but I mean, I, as long as I've been in business over there, I've never had a problem with anybody, and this is the first major incident that we've had besides noise complaints. But and you work with the police, you don't go against them. This is what happened. This is basically what happened for me reading the complaint. But I'm not a happy camper about it. I want to tell my side of the story, but kind of why we're having this meeting here, because I think I've been here long enough to establish that I work really well with the West Dallas Police Department, that I should at least get a chance to say my say before you guys make a decision. That's kind of why we're here this time. I'm not gonna waste their time.
Attorney Serwin, it looks like they have admitted to the bulk of the complaint, but you are the prosecuting attorney, so you are able to present evidence as to the charges at this time. I will leave it up to you how you wish to proceed from here.
Thank you. I'll try to be brief, and I just have a few follow-up questions based on that. My hopes are that after this point, if the committee doesn't have any questions for the officers, and if the licensing agent doesn't have questions for the officers, we can let them go. So I'll be brief here. Miss Kapelinski, was anybody sworn in at this point? I'm going to ask Miss.
Nobody
Kapelinski some
has
questions.
been yet.
All right, can we swear in Miss Kapelinski? I'm not sure who ends up doing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Ms. Kapelinski, all the witnesses who testify before the committee have to be sworn in. So if you want to raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Thank you.
Ms. Kapelinski, you are the licensing agent at Uncle Fester's bar, correct?
Correct.
How long have you been the licensing agent there?
2-3 years, I'm not exactly sure.
How long have you worked at Uncle Fester's beyond that?
I've been with Tim since day one, so we've been here 5 years and 3 months.
5 years and 3 months. All right. Do you know who Julio Crespo is?
He was Judy's
He
boyfriend.
was Judy's boyfriend.
Okay. How was he associated with the bar, if at all?
He would help Judy behind the bar, like stocking and stuff. That was pretty much all he was supposed to be doing.
All right. And you said Judy was the other person at the bar, who is Judith Tobar, correct?
Yes.
She was the bar.
All right. And how long did Judith Tobar work for Uncle Fester's?
2 years.
2 years or so?
Almost 2 years. Yeah, almost 2 years.
And Mr. Wergen, I might have some questions for you in a little bit, and I'm not trying to ignore you. You'll have a chance to tell your side of everything. Since Miss Kapelinski is the only one that's sworn in right now, I'm just asking her questions. I have no problem if you have something that's different, especially as the owner, if you want to chime in, but most of these questions are going to be directed towards Ashley, okay?
Okay, I'll stay quiet. I'm sorry about that.
No problem. All right, so Judith had been there for about 2 years, and you said Julio is her boyfriend and comes in to help her out. Does Julio technically work there? Is he paid by the bar?
There is not a gate, but there is, by the end of the bar, there's like a section where they know they're not supposed to go over that.
Sorry, I might have cut out there. Does Julio get paid to work at the bar?
No.
No.
Okay. Does Judith get paid to work at the bar?
Yes.
All right. how many bartenders does, if you know, how many bartenders does Uncle Fester's have employed?
Currently or in the
How,
past?
sure, currently. We'll save that first.
There's 5 of us.
5, all right. And then does Judith Tobar still work at the bar?
No, she does not.
When was she let go?
January 1st.
January 1st or
right,
January
and-
2nd.
2nd, all right. And I know you said Julio isn't paid by the bar, but I know, at least in the complaint that you admitted to, he was there on at least 2 occasions. Is he still coming into the bar to help out?
No,
All right. Does the bar check on bartenders' licenses for their bartenders?
I do periodically check them, yes, to
Okay.
make sure they have them on.
How
them.
do you, what do you do to check?
I ask to see their license
Okay.
and have them physically show me their license.
Do you recall the last time you talked to Miss Judith Tobar about having her license?
I don't remember.
Okay. Were you working back on October 3rd, 2020?
But I was not.
All right. And then on October 10th, were you working that night?
No, I was not. I was home.
All right. Did you go to the bar during the time when officers were present?
I got the call that officers need to get into our camera system, so that's when I came down here and let them in.
Okay, so you actually had contact on the 2nd, or on the 10th or 11th, you had contact with the officers, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what did you know that night about what happened?
All I know is that I was home listening to the police scanner. I got a call while I was listening to the police scanner. I heard that there was a fight inside Uncle Fester's. And then my phone rang and said, the cops are at the bar. Can you please come down? They need to look at the cameras. And I told them I'd be on my way, and I came down and let them in the camera
Okay.
system.
You let by them, you mean the police officers?
Correct, sorry,
Okay.
yes.
No, no problem. Were you aware that the individual that the police believed to be involved in that shooting was found in the upstairs residence area?
I was aware when I came back the second time.
When was this?
I was
that
aware.
Was that the same evening? I'm sorry. What was the second time?
The second time was the October 11th that I had to come back. It was
Okay.
a little after midnight.
All right. And that's when you were aware
And
that
then-
somebody was hiding upstairs.
That's when I was told they found somebody upstairs.
Gotcha.
I had no prior knowledge that he went upstairs.
Understood. Did you review surveillance footage of what happened in the bar that evening with the police department?
I seen sections when they were going through it, but I didn't see the whole
Did you
surveillance
review it?
video, no.
Did you review it after this incident?
I did not. The officers came back the next day and needed to review it again or find some more footage, and I let them in, but I did not review any of it.
To this day, have you seen that footage?
I have not.
All right. Weren't you curious about what was on it that the cops needed?
I was told that from one of the officers, I was told that there was gunfire down the street or blocks away or something. And they needed surveillance to see if it was one of our patrons leaving.
All right. Were you involved or were you informed of how Judith or Julio were involved at all?
Was I informed?
Sure. Do you know why or how
No,
they were
I was
involved?
not. I didn't know anything until later on that morning when one of the officers was talking to me, telling me that they lied about who the shooter was and anything else.
So I guess my question, what I'm driving at here is, when the cops go back there on January 1st, Mr. Crespo and Judith are still working there after having lied to the cops, having supplied this other guy with a weapon, which is clearly visible on the surveillance video. I'm wondering, why were they still working there at that time in January?
And we didn't have any acknowledge. I was waiting to hear from the police department or get a police report to find out what was going on, because I did not hear anything that there was a gun involved until earlier that morning when the officers told me there was a gun involved. And I didn't realize that Judy and Angel or Crespo or Julio handed him a gun or whatever. I did not know that.
Okay. On that, I'm sorry, strike that. Were you working on the January 1st New Year's incident?
I was not, I was home.
All right. How did you decide staffing for that evening? Or did you decide staffing? Whose role is that? I'm sorry.
That's me and Tim's role on who was working that night.
Do you know how you decided who was working January 1st?
It was actually scheduled, Judy's scheduled day to work.
Okay. And at that point, were you aware of whether or not she had a valid license to operate a bar?
I did not know that she did not have a valid license.
All right.
I was told that she renewed it in January or in June, that like everybody does.
And you said that both, well, I guess Mr. Crespo didn't really work there, but you said Judith was let go around January 2nd. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Why were they released or let go on January 2nd?
Because we found out that we had another noise complaint. And me and Tim both told them that if we get one more noise complaint, you guys are done. The DJ's done. We can't have noise after. We told them after midnight, we can't have it.
What are the remedial efforts or things you've done since these 3 incidents to make sure they don't happen again?
We have no more DJ. We've been closing early, except on Wednesday and Thursday nights when we have pool leagues. We make sure the music is down by 10:30, 11 o'clock at the latest. And I've been making sure that all my bartenders now have their license on them.
All right. Assistant City Attorney Hammock, I don't know if the committee has any questions for Ms. Kapelowski at this point. Again, I want to be mindful of everyone's time and especially the officers who are here. I might just have some brief follow-up and then open the floor to the committee for the officers as well, or I can keep on going to the officers right now and open the floor for committee questions after speaking with the officers, however you would like to proceed.
I believe Attorney Serwin to follow up with the officer first, and then we can ask questions.
Very good, thank you. The city would call Officer Jacobson. Sir, can you raise your right hand? Could you both you guys raise your right hands?
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right. Again, I'll be very brief with this based on the fact that there was admissions to all the substantive portions. Officer Jacobson, how are you employed?
I'm a police officer with the city of West Dallas.
And how long have you been a police officer with West Dallas?
Been with West Dallas for 5 years.
Were you involved in investigating that shooting incident over by Uncle Fester's back on October 11th?
Yes, I was.
When you were on scene, did you speak with Ashley, the bar manager?
Only briefly to obtain surveillance video.
All right. And then did you also speak with Timothy Wergen, the owner?
By phone, yes.
All right. Mr. Wergen wasn't there, correct? Because he drives truck, which is what I think he's doing right now. Hopefully he's not driving right now, but he wasn't actually physically there, correct?
Correct.
All right. That upper residence, the residential unit, did Mr. Wergen say who could use that unit?
He identified that it was his residence, but he allowed his employees access and temporary use to it.
Did he identify any employees specifically?
I believe he advised Judith, Ashley, and I believe he did give me the name of Julio as well.
Okay. And that the guy that the police suspect was involved in that shooting was actually up there, right?
Correct.
All right. Did you talk to that Julio Crespo individual?
I did.
All right. And to make a long story short, was he honest with you the first time?
No,
Did he come clean eventually?
partially.
Partially. All right. And you reviewed the surveillance video actually on that one, correct?
Yes, I did.
All right. Were you able to discern whether or not a firearm changed hands from Mr. Crespo at the bar to the other guy? I don't need to name him because there's a criminal matter pending for that.
Yes, in the surveillance video, it could be clearly seen that Mr. Crespo retrieved the firearm from behind the bar and handed it to the other gentleman who was ultimately accused of firing several rounds in the nearby area.
All right. Can you identify via that video where the gun was being stored initially?
It was stored in a cabinet behind the bar.
All right. I have no further questions for Officer Jacobson. I'll move on to Officer Vanden Boogard. Officer Vanden Boogard, how are you employed?
Through the city of West Dallas as a police officer,
All right. And how long have you been a police officer with West Dallas?
approximately 6.5 years.
All right. Now, we've talked about 3 incidents. You actually were involved in all 3 incidents back on October 3rd, 11th, and then January 1st, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Do you have interactions with bars as part of your employment generally?
Yep, fairly regularly.
All right. And I guess to speak to, I don't have to have you go through the facts of this, but to speak to interactions since this time, has Uncle Fester's area been more quiet lately at all?
Yes, it has.
All right, very good. Quiet, what I mean by quiet is less complaints, less violations, things along those lines. Is that accurate?
That's accurate, and I have noticed they are not as open on third shift, 11 p.m. After 11 p.m. They aren't open as often.
Very good. When back on the 11th, did you have contact with Ashley Kapelinski?
Yes, I did.
All right. And do you recall what information she was made aware of in order to obtain that surveillance video?
I don't remember my full interaction with her. We did have a lengthy discussion, kind of on and off while I was obtaining the video. It was a larger file, so it took me, I was at the bar for more than 2 hours, I believe. And so I spoke with her kind of on and off, just normal conversation. I never obtained any, I don't believe I obtained any kind of official statement other than that she was not at the bar when it had occurred. And she came afterwards for our request.
Very good. And I guess, Mr. Chair, I'll direct my question to you. I do have the surveillance video queued up. Now it is, I wasn't sure how substantive this hearing needed to get. I do have it queued up while the officers are present. But I'm not sure the utility in it based on the admissions from the licensing agent. And so I don't intend to show it. I don't think it's necessary, but I certainly want to make that information available to the committee if you deem that appropriate.
I do believe, I don't think we need to really see it. I mean, the officer, I'm sure they saw it, you know, and I'm sure you did see it. So we trust all your information.
And that's a determination for the committee to make in closed session, who you find credible, who you don't. I'm just making, there was testimony on that subject. I'm just making sure that if the ultimate finders of fact want to see it, I'm happy to provide that information. It sounds like the agents are aware that it exists and referenced it, at least in their opening statements. So with that being said, I don't have any further questions for the officers. And I would leave the floor open, whether it be for the licensees to cross-examine the officers or the committee if they have questions. I'll stand silent at this point.
Yeah, Attorney Sorwin, I have a question for Officer Venton Bogart in reference of the guns that was found. Is that gun was registered or, I mean, from the ownership of that gun? There was a name on the registration records, who owns that gun? I mean, is owned by the owner of the bar or the agent of the bar? I mean, who the gun belongs to?
The gun was never recovered in this incident.
Oh, he never did recover that gun. Never did. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Alderman
I have a
Stefanski.
question for the officers. Does anybody that's associated with the bar have a concealed carry license to be able to have that on the premises?
I can, I guess, speak to that. Unless we locate a worker with a firearm at the bar, we do not ask people if they have one. It's obviously their right to conceal carry and it's their premise. So I am not aware of any of the owners or bartenders of Uncle Fester's to carry firearms while they're working. And I don't know about a CCW permit as well, because it's never been brought up.
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chair,
you.
if I could speak to that as well.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't intend to, thank you. I don't intend to take it for whatever you will, but state law prohibits firearms in establishments that sell alcohol. And so there can't be, whether there's a CCW license or not, doesn't matter. There can't be a firearm in there.
Thank you. Attorney Sorwin.
I can cite, if you want, I can look that up 1 second. I'll get you the state code on that one.
Nick, are you sure about that?
I'll double check. I
Okay.
have it cited in the complaint as 941.237 sub 2. Wisconsin statute.
What paragraph in the complaint, Attorney Serwin?
That is in paragraph 19. That statute section is titled 941.23, carrying a handgun where alcoholic beverages may be sold or consumed. Sub 2 says whoever intentionally goes armed with a handgun on any premises for which a Class B or Class B license or permit has been issued under Chapter 125 is guilty of a Class A misdemeanor.
Thank you. You got the right answer, Alderman Stefanski, from Attorney Serwin?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, thank you. So any further questions from the committee members for the officers at this time?
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
Alderwoman Grisham here. I
Yes.
do have a question for the officers. Just for clarity, it's noted that Ashley Kapelsinski initially said she was not on the premises, but was later found to be. Am I reading this correctly?
yeah, she got called in, I believe. That's based on our statements.
So during this October 10th incident, Ms. Kapelzinski was not on the premises at all prior to being called in.
Officers, do you know the answer to that?
I was the first officer to go to the bar. She was not there. And was, when I waited for her and she came in, I believe is how that went. I actually left. And a short while afterwards, through the investigation, I came back to the bar. And I think Ashley had left and I came back a second time to the bar to again assist me. But she was not there originally.
Okay, thank you.
So any further questions from the committee members at this time?
Mr. Chair, Alderman
Yes.
Reinke,
Yes, go ahead, Alderperson Rankin.
have Judith, and Julio been in the bar since January 1st?
I do not know that answer. I haven't found myself back there for any complaints.
That might be better addressed to Ms. Kapelzinski. Ms.
They have-
Kapelzinski,
They have not been back in the bar since.
Have you banned them from the bar?
We have not, but we told them they need to pretty much stay away because they're just causing trouble now with this whole incident.
Would you consider hiring them again?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
So any further questions from the committee members?
Mr. Chair, I do have questions for Ms. Kapelzinski, but I believe for point of order, we had discussed if there were no further questions for the officers that they could finish up. Is that what we're looking for, or do I have to ask the questions now in their presence as well?
Well, if you wish to ask a question, that'll be fine.
No, I have no further questions for the officers. I do have questions for Ashley Kapelzinski.
Go ahead.
the only point of order for that is if the officers, I want to make sure that Ashley and potentially even Tim, if they have questions for the officers, they have a chance to cross-examine the officers since they did testify. And then whenever the committee is comfortable with letting the officers go, we certainly can. But if other issues come up in questioning, if your follow-up questions create questions for the officers, they will no longer be available, just to point that out.
Okay, makes sense. Then I'll ask Ms. Kapelzinski my questions now. Ms. Kapelzinski, how often do you work at the bar, bartending yourself?
I don't bartend very often. I fill in when a bartender is sick or needs vacation. I do more behind the scenes. I do the paperwork, I run to the bank, I do the ordering. But I just fill in when like a bartender is on vacation or out.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And do you reside on the premises of the bar upstairs?
I do not.
Okay. I do have a question relative to the two that were involved in this incident. If it happened in October, why were they still employed in January?
I was waiting, like I said, I was waiting to hear back from the officers for a police report or something to know what was actually going on.
So were you informed at that time that there was weapons involved in the establishment by the officers, or were you aware of it? I mean, I guess having to have video proof wouldn't be a make or break for me if I was running an establishment. If this was the serious situation as it was, you know, forethought would have to be made as far as keeping them on board, whether, you know, there's a police report or not. So I guess my question to you is, you know, what were you were waiting for a police report in order to terminate their employment, or, and I'm speaking as two, even though you're stating that Julio was not underemployed, he seemed to be a pair with Judith. You know, because in reference in your answers, there were both of them usually together. So I guess my question is why you're saying that they were not fired or let go because you were waiting for a police report?
Well, I wasn't aware of the gun involved, or the gun was involved, until that next morning when I was sitting here waiting for Tim to give the officers the okay to go search the apartment upstairs.
Okay, so that was October 11th though,
Correct.
and they were still employed in January.
Yes.
Okay. And it was stated that, now you used two names, Julio or Angel was Judith's boyfriend.
Correct.
Okay. Is he the gentleman who was found upstairs in the unit?
No.
Okay. All right. I don't think I have any other questions. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Alderperson Christian. I believe it's a valid question. Thank you. So any further questions from any committee members?
Mr. Chair, Alderman Ranky.
Yes.
These two employees allowed a firearm on the premise, as I understand it. Was the weapon surrendered to the officers when they found out it was on premise?
The firearm was never recovered. The firearm that was in the bar is the one that is suspected to have been used in a shooting, which the gentleman that was located in the bar is now facing charges for. The weapon that he is accused of using that was seen on the surveillance video was never recovered and has not been located.
So it totally disappeared, officer?
Correct. There was a period of time between the shooting and the suspect's arrest, during which time he was able to disappear the weapon.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderperson Ranky. So if there's no further questions, I believe the officer could release himself and then we can.
The licensee and the owner should be given an opportunity to ask the officers any questions before we cut them
Yes,
loose.
okay.
Chairman Vitale, I do have a follow-up question
Yeah,
for
go ahead.
Ashley.
Go ahead.
Ashley, you stated that you're more behind the scenes. So how often do you go into Uncle Fester's to check on things? To check on staff, to follow up on purchase orders, things like that? Is that all hands off, or are you doing that at the bar itself?
I do that at the bar itself. I come in the morning. I do all the money, the running to the bank or whatever purchases we need. And then throughout the day, the bartenders need something, they give me a call and then I come in.
Okay, so when I asked that question, I did phrase it as how often do you bartend? So typically, how many days a week are you open?
We're open 6 days a week now. We're closed on Mondays.
Okay, so you would be there 6 days a week, at
Correct.
least in the morning.
Correct.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So any question from the agent or the owner of the tavern for the officer?
I have a couple questions, Alderman.
So go ahead.
Either officer can answer this question for me. When they called me that night, did I give them any flack? Was I cooperative? Did I give them permission to go to my house? I never once said, go get a warrant, nothing. I would like the officers to answer that question for me, please.
Yes, sir. I was the one who spoke with you, sir, on the phone. You gave us full consent to search your apartment for any evidence that the suspect may have concealed in there where he was located. I also advised you of the suspect's name, and you advised that you had never heard of that person, and that person had no consent whatsoever to be in your apartment.
Thank you. And do I have you two on the screen right now? Do I ever give you grief, go ever hide anything. You've done me several times over the 5 years I've been there. I don't know about you, but the other guy has. Have I ever given you grief? Have I always been cooperative? And we always open the door to you guys.
That would be the officer of any board. No, Mr. Wergen, every time I've pretty much ever dealt with you, you've been cordial, very cooperative. You're always willing to help out as much as you can. And I know that we've never had any issues.
And we've had a lot of issues at Uncle Fess's before I took over.
Well, like I said, I've been working for 6.5 years. I don't quite recall, since you guys have been open for 5 years, I don't quite recall the year before, that first year. I don't
Okay,
remember.
I just want to make it a point that I'm not hiding. We were trying to hide anything. We try to be vocal. We try to be very big in the community, with the police department, with everything. What happened is a total travesty, and I'm very angry about it. And it wouldn't happen if I was there. I promise you that. But I just wanted to make sure you guys know that I'm a 100% stickler for my rules at my bar, and you guys can verify that for me.
Thank you. Any further questions this time?
Mr. Chair, Rosalie
Yeah.
Reinke.
Yes.
I have a question regarding Ms. Kapelizinski. Do you keep a record, or you keep track of your employees that you have working at the bar in regard to their license expiration?
Yes, I take a copy of their license. I started as soon as I found out Judy didn't have a license. I start taking copies of their license. I have it in a file, and I make sure that when I see that it's coming to expiration, that I let them know that they need to renew it, or their employee or their job is not going to be here anymore.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have a follow-up question to
Go ahead.
what Alderwoman Ranky just asked Ashley. Okay, if you have, it was brought to your attention that Judith did not have a license at the time she was working?
I found this out after the fact of January 1st, when the officers came in.
Okay, so October 10th, she had a license?
I did not know. We thought she had a license. I did not know that she did not have a license prior to January 1st.
Okay, officers, I have a question for you. Was Judith cited for not, or Tim cited for not having a licensed bartender on site?
I'll speak to that. I know both of us had limited contact with both bartenders that night, Julio and Judith. I spoke with Julio personally, and I do remember him basically stating that, oh, I don't actually work here, and he didn't have a license. I never spoke with Judith. Another officer did. I could not tell you which one at this time. And so that conversation between Judith and that officer regarding her license, I don't know if it ever took place. I don't recall ever seeing that in any of their reports. So I don't believe that conversation ever happened the night of the shooting.
Okay, so actually you're stating that it was not brought to your attention. How was it brought to your attention in January that Judith did not have a license?
It was brought to my attention because Tim actually got a ticket in the mail for not having a
Okay.
license.
And I know Tim has not been sworn in, Attorney Hammond, so can I direct a question, or does he have to be sworn in?
He should be sworn in, and I can
Okay.
do that.
Please do, thank you.
You want to raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Yes.
Tim, I have a question for you regarding when you received that citation. When was that sent to you?
I think I got it the day after.
Okay, so you as the owner of the establishment were apprised that there was a unlicensed bartender in your establishment.
Yeah, especially now that I can speak that I'm sworn in, because I personally tell all my bartenders, make sure when they first hire on me, I always look at their copy of their bar license. She was licensed bartender. I did not know she didn't go renew it. That's where
Okay.
the confusion came.
But point of clarity, if she did not renew it, she wasn't licensed.
Well, obviously that's how I found out because I got a ticket. Yes.
Okay, and you received that the day after this incident.
It was like, yeah.
Did you communicate that to Ashley?
I told her, I said, look at the ticket I got. She's unlicensed.
Okay, now Ashley, this question's coming back to you. You're stating that you didn't know this until January?
When Tim got the ticket, correct?
Okay, but it was the day after the incident. I'm confused.
No, I'm sorry, January 2nd, the day after. It was shortly after New Year's Eve.
Okay, so you're talking about the separate incident. For a point of clarity, I was speaking of the October.
No, I did not know.
Incident.
Nobody mentioned it to me, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Okay.
No.
All right.
If I had known then,
And Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, if I could clarify,
Yeah.
I've reviewed the reports. I think with enough going on after the shooting, I don't believe the officers, I know they had informed or there's information in the reports about Mr. Crespo not being licensed, but they didn't get to that point, as far as I'm aware, with Judith on that night.
Okay, thank you. Tim, I have a couple questions for you. As
Yes,
the
ma'am.
owner, I know that you stated that you're a truck driver. How often are you in your establishment?
I out of the whole month, I'm probably there 15 days.
15 days, so half the month?
Yeah, I go away for a week in like 2 days. I come back for 5, and I go back a week in 2 days. I come back for 5. I go out for 7 to 10 days. I come home for 5 or 6. Then I go back out.
Okay. And as far as communications and oversight of the business itself, that is delegated to Ashley?
It goes through me.
It goes through you. So nothing passes go unless it comes through you first?
Pretty much.
Scheduling, everything.
Well, the hours are set in stone pretty much. But I hire somebody that's automatically, that's your day, that's your shift. Nothing changes unless you're sick.
Okay. Now you also noted that there is an apartment upstairs that is free to use for.
Not free to use.
Not free to use. Okay.
No.
So can you give me some information on that unit upstairs?
I rent it as my residence. When my neighbor died, I took over the upstairs so I over my business, so I didn't have strangers living upstairs. So I leave it open because I have my office, my trucking company. I leave it open for them to go in there and make copies for worksheets for, to write you down what you start with, what you end with, how many credit cards you have. It's not a free for all. It's not a flop house. It's for you to go up there, make your paperwork, and get out. That's my house. All my private stuff is in there.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay, so you do not give any of your employees or staff permission to stay in that unit?
No, they could go up there and get what they need to do, and they're supposed to be under there. It's not for them to be sleeping over there, vice versa, nothing like that. Everybody knows the rules. I have a lot of rules that people didn't follow the last 3 or 4 months that I made changes with. So that's not, I know. I said I'm a tough person to work for, but I'm good if you do your job. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Thank you. I think that sums up my questions at this time. Thank you.
I have a
Chairman
question.
Vitale,
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, Alderman
I
Rhodes.
guess I would direct this towards the officers so they can get the heck out of there and protect our streets again. Would it be fair to say, and this is to either one of you two that saw the video, that Julio was seen behind the bar often acting as if he was a bartender? He wasn't just shagging bottles back and forth from downstairs or whatever. He was acting in a bartender-like capacity.
Yes, I was watching the video, saw he was behind the bar, he was getting drinks for people, he was picking up the drinks and putting on the garbage, in typical bartender roles.
And I believe it said somewhere in the report that we got that he was also, making change and working the cash register as well, correct?
I don't recall that offhand with money transactions. I just don't recall it. It could have happened, it could not have.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I have a question for Ashley in reference early statement that she addressed the committee here, the city attorney, and she did address the fact that all the employees, they working for Uncle Fastener, she always screen them all out. She checked all the licensee, people who's going to work behind the bar. But the fact stands that those people were hired, they worked there since October of the accident until January 1st of 2021. And, if she's check them, well, why not have been informed early for them to probably release them or dismiss them from their employment or getting a license? Why it took them more than 2 months, almost 3 months, those people not having valid license to work behind the bar. To me, it's totally something that we will talk over during the closed session. But the fact that is, Ashley, could you answer that for us or for me or for the officer and for our assistant city attorneys, Rebecca and Mr. Serwin just as well?
I don't know. I don't know why I didn't check their licenses. Normally I try to check them. I've been doing it like twice a month. And I thought, I don't know why I didn't check theirs. I apologize. I don't know why.
Thank you. That's more than enough. So yeah, thank you for address the questions. So at this time, I believe we can.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Alderperson Rank.
This question is for the officers. Generally, when you officers answer a call at a troubled bar, do you ask to verify a bartender's license when you go to that bar?
It is our practice, yes, that an officer should be asking the bartender to produce the license. I know for my own personal self, I do. I was a tavern check officer for 2 years, who was designated to check the taverns, and that was something that I did. But I can only speak for myself and for what our practice is and what it should be. Now, it does not appear that it happened the night of the shooting, but I don't know for certain.
I asked that question because a lot of the troubled bars don't seem to have bartenders that have licenses, and that seems to be a problem. That was the reason I asked this question. So I think it's important that officers do that. And I'm wondering, if you did that in October, why did the people still have a job at the bar if they didn't have a license?
And like I said,
maybe that would be for the owner.
Okay.
Were they cited? Were the bartenders cited at that time?
If they were cited, they would have been gone right away. I was under the impression they had a license.
No one was cited the night of the shooting night in October. There was no bartender was cited, and I do not believe the question was asked to Judith, the female bartender. I do not believe she was asked if she had a license. It was not in the report. So, and I wasn't the officer who spoke to her that night, so I can't speak for that officer. And I don't know or not.
Mr. Chair, if I could as well, just to clarify a point. It's not illegal to tend a bar without an operator's license if there's somebody supervising you. And so if the bar owner is there, or the agent is there, or a bartender is there, you can think of an operator's license as somebody can operate the bar solo and supervise somebody. And so it's not illegal if Mr. Crespo, just for example, would work there if Judith was a licensed operator. But it's my understanding from the testimony that with with the shooting and trying to find this guy and everything else that was going on, that question just, it was not the priority at that time. The priority was catching the guy who did the shooting. When they're doing more benign alcohol license checks, like just a regular tavern check or a noise complaint, they're going to be asking at that point when it's not involved in a more substantial criminal charge.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
clarifying that. I have a question regarding Ms. Kapelinski. Does she currently have a license? Do agents have to have a license?
Well, she has to have a license. She has to be the
I'm
operator.
asking that of her.
Yes.
Do you have a license?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rosalie. Any further questions?
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
have one final question for the owner of the establishment. Tim, you said you received one citation. Over the course of you having your establishment, how many citations have you received for a non-licensed bartender in your premises?
None.
0. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
As the owner of the establishment, and you said you oversee everything, have you implemented a new policy that copies of said licenses go past you first?
Everything goes, I want to see every bartender I hire, I photocopy your license. And then when I look at it, now I see renewal, and I go that day renewal. 'Cause I have a license too, and I know when it, I know how they work so much. Dallas. I want a copy of it, and I make another copy and stick it in the file. They said it always helps too, because if you don't have it on you, an officer walks in, I can pull it out of the file and they can show them too. So that way it benefits both of us. It's a little easier. They don't have to waste time calling in on radio, whatever, and bothering your guys' time. So yes, there's a new policy that everybody, I don't care who you are, everybody gets a photocopy. I go upstairs, photocopy it, we put it in a file. And then renewal, I don't know what a renewal is. Because if I ask you, I can ask you, did you renew your license? You say, yeah. I hate only to be, but these are adults here. This is something like, this is your livelihood. It's like my CDL. If I don't go renew my CDL, I can't drive the truck I own. So it's kind of the same concept, you know what I mean? I
Right.
trust when you tell me you went and did it. You understand what I mean? But ultimately, I'm still responsible because I am the owner. So
Yes.
I feel that
Okay, so you have implemented a new policy that you will see every person's license, and you had 0 citations prior to this in 5 years of
I've never
business.
had it.
Okay.
To be honest with
Great.
you, I never had an incident over there to this nonsense.
Okay.
Little stupid. To be honest with
Okay.
you, could check records and everything.
All right, thank you.
This is
Any
not how I
further
run my bar.
questions?
I promise.
Any further questions from the committee members? If there's not,
Mr. Chair,
yes, go ahead.
I have a question, but it's towards the owner. So I don't know, do we still need the officers here?
Does anybody have any follow-up questions? Specifically, I want to make sure the agent or owner, if you have any follow-up questions for the officers, now would be your approaching your last chances to ask those. Anything further to the officers?
They've answered my question for me, attorney.
I'm good.
Any older persons have further questions for the officers?
No.
No.
Attorney Serwin,
Yes, sir.
Your officer to be in attendance tonight. Take your time to come and
yeah,
explain your,
thank you. I just want to bring up one thing from our end, since I have everyone here. Since I have been a tavern officer in the past, it would be helpful from the police end if we had some kind of access to who has a bartender's license throughout the city. There's got to be a record somewhere, and I'm not familiar with it, and I did it for 2 years. So when I go to a bar and they say, oh, I don't have the license on my person, it would be helpful if the police department could pull up records somehow, whether it's through the city website or through our secure server, to be able to access that if the person doesn't have the card on them. I just want to make everyone aware of that.
Thank you for that information. I didn't know that.
I appreciate that as well, and I'll work with the clerk's office to find a way to make that available.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your
I
time.
believe it's a great idea. I mean, really. I
Your
think-
suggestion. That's excellent suggestion,
idea.
officers.
Thank you, officers.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
officers.
So at this time, I believe if we can let the agent, the owner of the Uncle Fester to they could be released, right, Attorney Serwin?
I'll let Attorney Hammock speak to that, but they have a chance. So this is kind of the close of my evidence, if you think of this in sections. And so I have no further questions for the officers. They were released. The committee has had a chance to ask questions of everybody.
Mr. Chair.
Rest
Yeah,
subject to
Alderman
rebuttal.
Rowe.
Sorry.
So
No, I wanted to talk to the owner now that the police are gone.
sorry, can I stop you there, Mr. Rote? You can ask them questions still. But that's what Attorney Serwin said is basically we're sort of closing his case, and yes, the owner and the agent both testified for Attorney Serwin, but now it's kind of their turn. So let's allow them to say what they want to say. They're still under oath. I know Mr. Sorry, I forgot your name.
Uyghur?
Mr. Wergen.
Wergen. Sorry,
Yes.
I forgot how to pronounce it.
Sure.
Mr. Wergen had said he wanted to tell his side of things before, so we should maybe kind of give him and the agent an opportunity to do those things, and then we can still follow up with any other questions that are outstanding from that point.
Thank you,
Fair
Rebecca.
enough.
Go ahead, then you can, let's start, ask if you have any questions to address to us. You have any questions, Mr. Tim Wagner?
I just, the question I have is, I was lied to. I was told lies after lies after lies after lies. This whole thing is a tragedy. It happened. First thing that should have happened when a guy brings a gun into the bar, I don't care if he's CCW or not, you call the West Dallas Police Department. That's what we have them in town for. This should never got to this situation. Obviously, I was lied to after the fact. Like I said, when the officers called me, I didn't give them no grief. Go up my house, do what you got to do. I don't care what you got to do. I've implemented new policies that are beneficial for the neighborhood. I've talked to my neighbors to see what I can do to make it better. They've addressed what their concerns were. There'll be no DJ. I usually close early unless I have a pool leagues. They're winding down, so we'll be closing earlier. The whole thing has never happened like this in the 5 years and 4 months tenure. Never had a underage drinking in my place. Never had a unlicensed bartender in my place. Everything will be addressed, and it will never happen again. I promise you that. This is not unacceptable. What happened? I'm not a happy camper. I don't need to be getting phone calls from the police when I'm on the road. If you guys are not old enough to be able to bartend, then you guys need to find a new job. It's as simple as that. It's a simple policy. Everybody knows the rules. So unfortunately, all I can do is apologize to the Common Council and the City of West Dallas for this happening. And it will not. All I can tell you is I've had no complaints since I've made my adjustment, and that's how it's going to stay for the duration that I'm in that building. That's all I have to say to you guys, and I apologize to everybody on the Common Council that this was even an issue.
Just to be clear, Mr. Wergen, this is your one chance to kind of say anything you want to say. Is that everything you wanted to say?
That's just everything in a nutshell. I mean, it is what it is. I'm not denying anything that happened. I'm just telling you to look at the big picture of me being there as long as I have, and looking at how I am with the, you know what I mean? I want you to know that I'm not running some jungle bar. I mean, you know where it's all trouble. I'm trying to make a point that there's no issues. This was the first time I'm in front of you guys since unless I go for renewal. You understand? That's what I'm trying to make my point, and I've made adjustments so this doesn't happen again. Everybody is trained. See somebody coming with a gun, they want to give you grief. You don't touch it. You don't do nothing. You call West Dallas, let them deal with it. That's just what I'm trying to address to you guys, and apologize that it even happened. And we're sitting here doing this right now. This is what I'm talking about.
And
Thank
Ms.
you.
Kaplazinski, is there anything you would like to say or add?
I just want to, like Tim said, apologize to the Common Council. We shouldn't be here. And me and Tim made the changes, and we'll make sure we're never in front of you guys again, unless it's renewal time.
Thank you for your.
If that's everything you guys have to say, then yes, council, the committee members, can ask questions now.
Any questions from any committee members?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Alderman Rowe.
Mr. Wergen, would it be fair to say that you are pretty much an absentee owner?
No, I'm very
Okay.
vocal.
Okay.
I'm on the phone.
Would you know? Okay, thank you. Thank you. Would you know if you were on the road or in town on the 3rd, the 10th, and New Year's Eve?
I was not on it in town on the 3rd. No, but the second incident I was not in town for, that's when they called me for. I was going to see, I was on vacation. The first one, I was woken up for the music when I came down when they called. The police called. Was that the noise complaint, the first one?
And then the New Year's one?
I don't have the complaint in front of me. No, the
Pardon
one
me?
before that. The first one was a noise.
The very first
Right.
one on October 3rd was a noise complaint regarding a DJ, correct?
When they called, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I upstairs. I got woken up by it. As I came down to tell them to turn it off and get out of there, and West Dallas called. And my bartender looked at me. She said, "West Dallas." I said, "That's why I'm down here." I said, "I knew this was going to happen. Turn it off. Stop playing the music." And that was done after that. I was there that night. I was upstairs sleeping.
But you were gone the 10th and gone New Year's.
Yeah. And I told them on New Year's that the music's got to be shut off. If I get a complaint from West Dallas, somebody's going to get a foot in the butt, and you'll get that bar again.
Okay. And then,
I said I wanted to shut off at 12:30, and they don't listen.
okay. And then twice now, which this is more of a statement than a question. When we saw you about 3 weeks ago, and actually tonight also, you said you referred to these incidents as nonsense. And I just don't appreciate that.
No,
It's pretty, you said it twice, sir.
No, I don't mean nonsense. Nonsense is stupid. It should happen because you're all adults. It's terrible. Somebody could have got hurt.
Okay.
That's what I mean by that.
Okay. And then also, is this the bar, and help me out because we get a lot of tavern reports. Are you the one with the trap door or a vending machine in front of the entrance going up to the 2nd floor?
Not in front of it. They're off to the
Near
side.
it? Near it, so it's not recognizable as a door?
It's recognized. Your doors are clear. You can get in there. Right through the door. Right there. There's plenty of room.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman Vitale.
Thank you, Alderman Road. Any other questions from the committee members of the agent and the owner? Any further questions? If there's not, we can move, and I'll thank you, the owner and the agent. I believe.
If there's no further questions, then
Yes.
both sides get an opportunity to make a closing statement, and then the committee can go into closed session to discuss the matter.
Is any
I'll be
further
very-
questions? Go ahead.
I have no further questions. I'll be very brief in terms of my closing. I think the information and I think the cooperation and admissions by the agent and the owner kind of speak for themselves. I think this is another example of a bar that's had a good history. I've had good contacts with Mr. Wergen since this happened, before this happened. But certainly I'll echo that this shootings can't happen at bars, and alcohol and guns do not mix well. And I think Mr. Wergen and Ashley can agree on that. And I'm glad that they've taken steps to change that. I think there's some intermediate steps that could have been taken prior to this shooting that would have stopped this from happening. And I think they recognize that. I think the committee recognizes that. And I think that's really where we are. I think we've seen bartenders or bar owners that are less contrite or forthcoming. I think Mr. Wergen understands that this can't happen again. And ultimately the end decision is up to the committee and however you want to proceed on this. I don't have necessarily a recommendation. There are circumstances certainly where bad things happen at a bar. And there are certain circumstances where if we look at the licensing issues, it might not implicate licensing issues. In this case, it could have been avoided. And hopefully the steps they've taken in going forward will alleviate that and make sure that we don't see them again. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Attorney Serwin. We appreciate your final statement. Any further questions before we close
Mr. Wergen or Miss Kapelinski, you both have the opportunity also to do sort of a summation, like Attorney Serwin just did real quick, just to kind of state where your final conclusion as well before the committee goes into closed session to discuss what to do.
Like I said, I just want to apologize. And going forward, all the changes that we put in force, and we hope that we won't have to go in front of the Common Council again until renewal time.
Thank you for your final statement, Ashley. So for Mr. Tim Wagner, any questions on the final statements?
Like I said over and over, this was a serious situation. Not happy it happened. I'm sorry that we're in front of you. Like I said, my first time in 5 years that I've had this conversation with you guys. Hello, it's unacceptable. I'm not happy. I made changes. I put my foot down, and this is how you're going to do it, or you're going to be out the door. There's no. We don't want the police here. We don't need to go see the Common Council. And I'm not happy of everything that transpired that night. But I have made ramifications and changed everything. That's all I can say. I'm sorry. That's all I can say.
Thank you for your final statement. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your final statement. So I believe, Rebecca, they could be released at this point, right? They could.
I think the committee has to make a motion to go into closed session, and then we'll have to read the closed session language.
Yeah.
Chairman Vitale,
Yes.
I make a motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
Second, thank
All in
you.
favor to go on closed sessions?
We need
Aye.
to take a roll call vote.
Roll call, yes, yes.
Before the vote, I just want to make sure the process is clear. Ashley and Tim and myself will be removed from the meeting, and then the committee is intending to come back into open session to let us know what happened. And so Tim and or Ashley should stick around, although they will not be on, they will not see anything for a long period or potentially a long period of time, just so everyone's aware of how that works. Okay.
Thank you,
Correct.
Alderman Stewart.
So the next step would be, having heard all the evidence, we would go into closed session. And that, in this case, since we're not in person, just means that Attorney Serwin and Mr. Wergen and Ms. Kapelinski will go into a waiting room until we're ready.
Thank
So there
you.
needs to be a roll call vote on the closed session.
So aye, Alderman Vitale,
Alderwoman Grisham, aye.
Alderperson
Roach,
Reinke.
aye.
Alderperson Reinke, aye.
Alderman Stefanski, aye.
so at this time, we are in closed sessions.
Just a
Can I have to
second,
read
please.
the agenda for the closed sessions, or Rebecca, you do it yourself? I can-
I can do that. Having heard all the evidence in this case, the committee
you-
will go into closed session now pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub A of the Wisconsin statutes to deliberate. Upon completion of the deliberation, the committee will reconvene in open session and at that time announce its findings and determinations.
Very
Thank
good.
you, Rebecca.
Can I be put in the waiting room? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
We have to make sure the video
It's
is
not